And yet, Billboard named Wooly Bully the #1 song of all of 1965. It stayed on the Hot 100 for 18 weeks, the longest run of any single that entire year. It never topped the weekly chart, and it still won the year. That's a specific kind of staying power that very few songs in history have managed. Now, what is Wooly Bully about? Good question. The song's title was actually the name of Sam's cat. He just made up the rest from there. Maddie and Hattie. 2 big horns. A woolly jaw. Don't be L7, whatever that means. It's essentially a party song built around a fictional creature and a set of lyrics that even the band couldn't fully explain. Some radio stations banned it because the lyrics were so hard to understand. They worried about what was being said inside the mumbling. The FBI had famously investigated Louie Louie by the Kingsmen for the same reason. Unintelligible lyrics in rock and roll were apparently a national security concern. And who was Sam the Sham exactly? Domingo Zamudio, a Texan of Mexican-American background who performed in a turban and pharaoh costume, playing organ with self-described 5-chord ability, fronting a band that called themselves the Memphis Pharaohs, despite being from Dallas. They were the first American act to sell 1 million copies during the British invasion. That whole setup, the costume, the name, the accent, the costumes, the cats, the gibberish, should not have worked. But it worked completely.
Uno, dos, 1, 2, 3, 4.
And if you were hearing it on AM radio in 1965, you weren't thinking about any of that. You were just thinking, something about this makes me want to move. Number 10 made it to #5 before someone complained. And someone always complains. Let's look at the numbers. Only 9% of you are actually subscribed. Honestly, that's tough to see. Our team spends days hunting down archives and verifying every single fact just to tell these stories right. If you've made it this far into the video, you're clearly part of the community, so please hit subscribe. It costs nothing and helps us immensely. Now, for those already subscribed, very few of you have made the jump to our membership, and that's a hard pill to swallow because you're the ones who know our value best. If this channel has moved you or inspired you, consider joining. It's the price of 1 coffee, but it's the literal fuel for this channel. Let's keep this alive together. Back to the story. Number 10, They're Coming to Take Me Away. Ha! Napoleon 60, 1966.
Worse, and now you see I've gone completely out of my mind.
His real name was Jerry Samuels. He recorded under the name Napoleon XIV, credited his compositions to N. Bonaparte, and somehow convinced Warner Brothers Records to release what might be the most unsettling novelty single in rock history.
I cooked your food, I cleaned your house, and this is how you pay me.
The song is about a man who's losing his grip on reality after his girlfriend leaves him. He just unravels over a snare drum and a tambourine. Nothing else. No guitar, no bass, no production flourish. Just a voice getting more frantic, building toward a punchline that is also a horror movie.
To the happy home with trees and flowers and chirping birds and dust.
And the B-side? The B-side was the exact same recording, played backwards. That's all it was. The same song reversed. And they labeled it Ahaha. Ya wa em ekati ot gnimo si eryet.
To the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time, and I'll be happy to see.
Flip the record over. Hear the madness in reverse. Go to sleep. It shot to #5 on the Billboard chart. And then something happened. A backlash hit. Mental health advocates argued the song was mocking people with mental illness.
They're coming to take me away, haha. They're coming to take me away, ho ho.
Radio stations started pulling it. In its 6th week on the chart, it dropped from #5 all the way to #37 in a single week.
And so you laughed when I had said that losing you would make...
Teenagers in New York were so furious with a local radio station for dropping the record that they picketed outside the building. A plane reportedly flew overhead trailing a banner begging the station to keep playing the song.
Well, you left me anyhow, and then the days got worse and...
Kids picketing. A plane with a banner. For a song about going to a padded room. Stay with me on this one. because there's something underneath the weirdness here that I think is worth sitting with. The song works because the narrator is sympathetic.
Me flip my lid. Right? You know you laughed. I heard you.
He's not scary. He's just broken. He's telling you about the relationship that cost him his mind, and somewhere in that breathless, spiraling voice, you understand him. You feel it.
ASPCA, you mangy mutt. And they're coming.
The song is funny, and it's genuinely sad. And in 1966, that was something radio didn't know how to handle. Napoleon XIV never had another hit. Jerry Samuels went on to work as a booking agent in the Delaware Valley area for decades. He passed away in 2023 at the age of 84. One song, one impossibly strange song, number 9 was written as a prank, and it worked too well.
Well, you just wait. They'll find you yet, and when they do, they'll put you in.
Number 9, I Am the Walrus. The Beatles, 1967. Lennon wrote the song to confound listeners who had been affording serious scholarly interpretations of the Beatles' lyrics. That's the whole story, in one sentence. A former student from Lennon's old school in Liverpool wrote him a letter, told him his teachers were analyzing Beatles songs in class, asking what they meant, searching for truth inside the poetry. That amused John Lennon. So he sat down and deliberately wrote nonsense lyrics. Sitting on a cornflake, waiting for the van to come. See how they fly like Lucy in the sky. See how they run. The purpose was to confuse, befuddle, and mess with the Beatles experts. He combined 3 different unfinished song ideas into one deliberately incoherent piece. He pulled from James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, which is itself a masterpiece of deliberate obscurity. He referenced Lewis Carroll. He layered orchestra, a 16-voice choir, and police sirens into the arrangement. And then he looked at what he'd built and said, "Good, that'll confuse them." He was partly inspired by 2 LSD trips. That probably helped. The BBC banned it, not because of the walrus or the Eggman or the Goo Goo Gajoob, but because of a single lyric, knickers. The BBC banned I Am the Walrus over the word knickers. Here's what gets me about this song. Lennon later admitted he'd made a mistake. He'd based the title on The Walrus and the Carpenter by Lewis Carroll, thinking the walrus was the hero of the poem. He realized later that in Carroll's original poem, the walrus was actually the villain. Lennon said he should have called it I Am the Carpenter, but that wouldn't have been the same, would it? No, it would not have been the same. The most famous lyrical prank in rock history was also an accidental mistake in the middle of its own joke. And it's still one of the greatest things the Beatles ever recorded. I am the Eggman. They are the Eggmen. I am the Walrus. Goo Goo Gajoob. Number 8 sounds like someone accidentally recorded their own breakdown. And that's almost exactly what happened. Number 8. Surfin Bird. The Trashmen, 1963. The Trashmen were a garage band from Minneapolis. Not California, Minneapolis. Let's just let that land. The Minneapolis surf rock band, playing 2 songs by a doo-wop group called the Rivingtons, Papa Mo Mau and The Bird's the Word, combined into one track. They hadn't even heard the Rivingtons recordings. They saw another band, the Sorensen brothers, playing the songs at a show and started doing them themselves. Then, at one of their own gigs, drummer Steve Wahrer stopped playing mid-song and ad-libbed the Surfin Bird middle section on the spot. That middle section. If you've heard Surfin Bird, you know what I'm talking about. The part where Wahrer essentially starts screaming syllables at the microphone. Not words, syllables. A kind of primal collapse of language back into pure noise. Then a local DJ at the show talked them into recording it. It reportedly sold 30,000 copies in its first weekend. It reached #4 on the Billboard Hot 100. On American Bandstand, Dick Clark asked Warrer where those strange sounds came from. Warrer looked at the camera and said, "Probably I was watching too many Tarzan movies." That's the answer. Too many Tarzan movies. The Rivingtons eventually sued for plagiarism and won songwriting credit, which meant they received royalties every time the song appeared in a movie or TV show. And given what that song has appeared in over 60 years, those royalties added up considerably. Here's the thing about Surfin Bird that I keep coming back to. It should not work as a song. There is no melody in the conventional sense. There's no bridge. There's barely a verse. It's mostly a chorus of shouted nonsense, interrupted by a man having what sounds like a sonic breakdown. And yet it has outlasted, outcultured, and outmemoried 1,000 technically superior records from the same era, because it commits, completely, without reservation. And when something commits like that, even to chaos, you feel it. If you've ever heard this song at a party, you know what happens to the room. Mid-list shift coming. Stay with me, because the next entry has a secret, and the label tried to lie about it. Number 7. Timothy, The Buoys, 1971. Rupert Holmes had a plan. His band, The Buoys, needed a hit. Their label, Scepter Records, wasn't promoting them. So Holmes decided to write a song so shocking and controversial that it forced people to pay attention. Sex and drugs weren't controversial enough anymore. Holmes needed something darker. He was watching a cooking show and arranging a coal mining song when it hit him. Mining and dining. Cannibalism during a mining disaster. But he wouldn't say it directly. He'd just imply it. Do everything to suggest it without ever confirming it. Three miners trapped underground. Only 2 come out, and the narrator can't quite remember what happened in between. The label didn't even notice the content when they released it. Scepter Records had almost no interest in the single and provided essentially zero promotion. It was word of mouth. Teenagers figured out what was happening in the lyrics before radio stations did. By the time radio programmers caught on, stations started banning it. Under normal circumstances, a radio ban is the kiss of death for a single's chart prospects. This time, it kept climbing. It peaked at #17 on the Billboard Hot 100. Scepter Records panicked and issued a statement saying that Timothy was actually a mule, not a person, a mule. So the survivors hadn't eaten a person, they'd eaten a mule. That was fine. Holmes refused to go along with the story. He confirmed Timothy was a person. The song was also the first hit ever written by Rupert Holmes. The same Rupert Holmes who would later write Escape, the Pina Colada song, one of the most cheerful #1s of the 70s. The man's first hit was about miners eating a colleague. His second biggest hit was about daiquiris on the beach. Holmes himself said he's proud of the song, not embarrassed. "People think I should be embarrassed," he said, "but I'm so proud." The Buoys had one more minor hit and then disappeared. And the man who wrote their only lasting legacy went on to write Pina Colada songs. It outperformed the Doors' Riders on the Storm on that year's annual Billboard chart. You probably know what's coming if you were seeing shows in those years. You know exactly where you were when you figured out what Timothy was really about. Number 6 is Chuck Berry's only #1 hit. Let that sit for a second. Chuck Berry, only #1. And it's this song. Number 6, My Ding-a-Ling, Chuck Berry, 1972. You know the catalog.
He told me it was my ding-a-ling-a-ling-o.
Johnny Be Good, Roll Over Beethoven, Maybelline, rock and roll music. Songs that helped define the architecture of rock and roll itself. Songs that went to the moon, literally, on the Voyager Golden Record.
Oh, that is beautiful. You know what I heard?
Chuck Berry invented a language, and the man who invented that language never had a #1 single until 1972, until a live recording of a novelty double entendre song about his childhood toy, or so he insisted, called My Ding-a-Ling. The song is exactly what you think it is. A thinly veiled, very thinly veiled song about a man who just really loves his ding-a-ling. And who encourages the audience to play with theirs, and who watched teachers try to take it away in school, and who kept it safe and guarded and treasured through the years. The crowd at the live recording loved every second of it. It hit #1 in the US and #1 in the UK.
I hear two girls over here singing in harmony. That's all right, honey. This is a free
Mary Whitehouse, the British moral campaigner who seemingly spent the 70s trying to remove anything resembling joy from the airwaves, attempted to have it banned from BBC radio. She failed. The BBC played it anyway. The country bought it anyway.
I was swimming across Turtle Creek. Man, them snappers.
Here's the thing I think about when I hear My Ding-a-Ling. Chuck Berry's genius was always partly about knowing exactly what he could get away with. He tested the edges of radio, of content, of what was acceptable. Roll Over Beethoven was a statement. Johnny Be Good was an argument. And My Ding-a-Ling was a wink and a laugh and a middle finger wrapped in a childhood melody. And it turned out that's the song the whole world wanted to hear.
Country, live like you want to live, baby. Yeah, ain't nobody gonna knock it down.
If you're nodding right now, you already know which side of the debate you're on. #5 earned its name from actual tape fragments covering an actual control room floor. #5, Frankenstein, Edgar Winter Group, 1973. They were just calling it the instrumental. The Edgar Winter Group used it as a warm-up exercise at the start of every recording session. A long, sprawling live jam. Edgar remembers it running maybe 15 or 20 minutes long. It wasn't supposed to be a song. It wasn't supposed to be on the album. It wasn't supposed to be anything. Producer Rick Derringer suggested editing it down for potential radio play, so they physically cut the master tape into pieces and started splicing it back together. Tape fragments covered the control room like shiny brown spaghetti. And drummer Chuck Ruff looked at the chaos, tape draped over chairs, overflowing the console, lying all over the floor, and said, "Wow, man, it's like Frankenstein." The name stuck immediately, because he was right. They were taking pieces of dead sessions and stitching them together into something new, something alive that shouldn't have been alive. They were building a monster. That monster hit #1 in May 1973, and it is the last rock instrumental to top the American charts. Not the last instrumental chart topper ever, but the last rock one. 50+ years. No rock instrumental has matched it since. It started life as the B-side of another single called Hangin' Around. FM radio DJs played the B-side constantly. The label reversed the single order. Frankenstein became the A-side, and then it became the biggest hit of Edgar Winter's career. Edgar Winter plays everything on that track. Keyboards, saxophone, timbales, ARP synthesizer. He was also the first person to hook a guitar strap to a keyboard and perform with it standing up, essentially inventing the keytar. He would play that saxophone solo with the keyboard still strapped around his neck. If you've ever tried to hum Frankenstein to someone who doesn't know it, you know the moment when their face changes, when they realize what song it is, because they know it. They've always known it. They just didn't know the name. #4 is a song that got its creator fired 5 days before it hit #1, and his own radio station refused to play it. Number 4. Disco Duck. Rick Dees, 1976. Rick Dees was a DJ at the Memphis AM station WM Please, known as the Great 68. He recorded Disco Duck as a sort of side hustle goof, a satirical disco novelty featuring a voice doing its best Donald Duck impression over a funky beat. The song took off. It was spreading nationally, and Wimp's management told Dees, "You cannot play your own song on your own radio show. Conflict of interest." Competing stations refused to play it too, because they didn't want to promote a rival DJ's music. So Disco Duck was becoming a national hit, and the only market in America where nobody could hear it was Memphis, where the guy who made it lived and worked. One morning on the air, Dees casually mentioned that his song might be about to hit number 1, and that he wasn't allowed to play it. His station manager heard him say it, and fired him on the spot. 5 days later, Disco Duck hit number 1. He got fired 5 days before his song topped the charts. And the competing station, the rival he'd been forbidden from helping, immediately hired him. Dees moved across town, played the song freely, and went on to one of the most successful radio careers in American history. The song sold over 4 million copies and earned Dees a People's Choice Award for Favorite New Song in 1977. Here's the layer of this story that I think about. Disco Duck is genuinely a ridiculous song. A guy at a disco party starts quacking. That's the concept. And it went number 1. And it appeared in Saturday Night Fever. And it remained in the cultural vocabulary for decades after disco itself was gone. One critic ranked it among the 100 worst songs ever recorded. 6 million people bought it. In 1976, the number 1 song in America was about a man who couldn't stop quacking. If that's not a boomer memory, I don't know what is. Number 3 features a cast member of Lost in Space, a future Oscar-nominated film director who made the video before he was famous. And the most requested song in the history of a radio show built entirely around weird music. Number 3, Fish Heads, Barnes & Barnes, 1980. Barnes & Barnes, Art Barnes and Artie Barnes, 2 characters who were actually actor Bill Mumy, Will Robinson from Lost in Space, and his childhood friend Robert Heimer. The 2 of them had been making weird songs for their own amusement since they were 14 years old.
Have to pay to get it in.
In 1978, they sent a tape to Dr. Demento's radio show. Their first song, the Vomit Song, was rejected. Dr. Demento wrote back and said, "It's brilliant, but I can't use it on the air. Do you have anything else?" They sent Fish Heads. It became the most requested song in the history of the Dr. Demento radio show. The song is about fish heads. Roly-poly fish heads. Eating them up. Yum. There is no subtext. There is no deeper meaning. The high-pitched, sped-up vocals. Mumy's idea.
Dancers, they don't play drums.
Make the whole thing sound like it was recorded inside a fever dream. And it is absolutely, profoundly catchy in the most unforgivable way. The music video was directed by a young actor named Bill Paxton, pre-fame, before Aliens, before Titanic, before any of it. Paxton championed the video so aggressively that it aired on Saturday Night Live for 2 consecutive weeks in December 1980.
Ask a fish head anything you want to.
When MTV launched, the Fish Heads video went into regular rotation. The song and video became one of the defining pieces of early MTV weirdness. And here's what I love about this. Bill Mumy, the kid who spent 2 seasons lost in space, who said "Danger, Will Robinson" every week on national television, grew up and made the strangest, most delightfully useless piece of music he could think of. And it outlasted half the legitimate hit records of its era. It's still the most requested Dr. Demento song in history. Some of y'all heard Fish Heads for the first time in a very specific place. You know the one. Drop it in the comments.
They won't answer, they can't talk.
Number 2 is a band from Amsterdam who got to number 9 in America playing a song with yodeling, flute, accordion, scat singing, and a guitar riff that operates at the frequency of pure adrenaline. Number 2, Hocus Pocus, Focus, 1973. It came together during a rehearsal. Guitarist Jan Akkerman started playing a riff. Drummer Pierre van der Linden came in behind him. And then Thijs van Leer, the keyboard player, the flutist, the frontman, did something. He yodeled. Van Leer had never yodeled in his life before that moment. He said later, "I still think it came from heaven." That's the origin. A Dutch prog rock band in a rehearsal room, improvising. The vocalist had never yodeled. He yodeled, and what they built around that moment, the thundering guitar riff alternating with yodeling, accordion, flute runs, scat singing, and a 6.5-minute running time that somehow also had a 3-minute radio edit, became one of the strangest top 10 hits in American chart history. Hocus Pocus peaked at number 9 on the Billboard Hot 100 in 1973 in the US. A Dutch band, yodeling. Jan Akkerman later told a British newspaper that Hocus Pocus was just a send-up of those rock groups, a joke, a parody of heavy rock bands from the era. The joke hit top 10 in America. The joke has been covered by Iron Maiden. The joke was used in the 2017 Edgar Wright film Baby Driver and the Pixar film Onward. The joke became a Nike advertising anthem during the 2010 World Cup. Here's what I think about when I hear Hocus Pocus. There is no moment of hesitation in that recording. No, maybe we should pull back on the yodeling. No, perhaps the accordion is too much. Every single element that makes that song improbable, the yodeling, the flute, the scat, the accordion, the sheer confidence of it all, was committed to completely. And that commitment is what makes it work. You can't yodel ironically at that speed, you have to mean it. And if you were around in 1973 and you heard Hocus Pocus come out of your car radio for the first time, you remember exactly what you did. The number 1 song on this list started with a drunk man, a gallon of wine, and a title that shouldn't exist. Number 1, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, Iron Butterfly, 1968. According to drummer Ron Bushy, organist and vocalist Doug Ingle wrote the song one evening while drinking an entire gallon of Red Mountain wine. A gallon. 1 gallon. Of wine. One evening. When the inebriated Ingle played the song for Bushy and tried to tell him the title, the words came out completely slurred. Bushy was writing down the lyrics as Ingle performed, and what he heard, what he wrote down, instead of "In the Garden of Eden," was "In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida." Bushy showed Ingle what he'd written. Ingle looked at it, and they kept it, because it sounded mystical. It sounded like something ancient and unknowable. It sounded like nothing else on earth. The album version runs 17 minutes. It occupies the entire second side of the record. The middle contains a 2.5-minute drum solo by Ron Bushy, the man who accidentally wrote the title. The In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida album has the distinction of being the first album to go platinum in the United States, the first album ever to ship more than 1 million copies. The album went on to sell over 4 million copies in America alone. Think about what that means. The record industry created the concept of the platinum album to describe what this song did. The benchmark was set by a 17-minute psychedelic rock piece that got its title from a man too drunk to say garden. The short version, edited down to under 3 minutes, reached #30 on the singles chart. But the album was what mattered. People were flipping it over, putting the needle down on side 2, and letting it run. All 17 minutes, in 1968, on home stereos and in dorms, and in cars with 8 tracks worn half to death from rewinding the same section. VH1 named it the 24th greatest hard rock song of all time. It's also widely considered one of the first recordings in the heavy metal genre. A drunken misunderstanding, a slurred phrase, a drummer writing down what he thought he heard. And from those 3 elements came 17 minutes that changed what rock music believed it could be. If you've ever sat in a dark room with that record and let the whole thing play out, you know. And if you've ever tried to explain to someone who wasn't there why that drum solo matters, you know that feeling too. You can't explain it. You had to be there.